Good afternoon, Junior High. Today is Tuesday, January 16th. Welcome to this episode of our daily video announcements. I'm Alex.
And hello, I'm Nicholas. We're so excited to be here on the daily video announcements. Now let's please stand and honor this amazing country as we say the Pledge of Allegiance together.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all, and please be seated.
Next up, National Day.
Today is National Nothing Day.
National Nothing Day was created as a day to provide Americans with one national day where they can just sit down without celebrating, observing, or honoring anything.
Hello, Luke here. And even though today is Nothing Day, yesterday was Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Now over to a special video recognizing his work.
Every third Monday in January, we celebrate the life of Martin Luther King Jr.
And that all men
Martin Luther King was a minister who believed that everyone, regardless of their background, should be considered equal.
Not the texture of his hair or the color of his skin, but his eternal dignity and worth.
He believed laws that separated black people from white people were wrong. He wanted to change these laws, but in a peaceful way.
There would be no violence from our side, and we hope that there would be none from anybody. We hope that this will...
Martin Luther King urged people not to use violence, but to join together and march to make others aware that all people should be treated equally.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
At one march in Washington, King gave this famous "I Have a Dream" speech, with over 250,000 people taking part in one of the largest public protests ever. Many of the marches King led helped bring about change to government laws that made life more fair.
Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Every year, on the third Monday of January, people across the United States honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by volunteering in their communities. Dr. King dedicated his life to working for tolerance, equality, and freedom for all Americans. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929. He is best known as a civil rights activist who spoke out against segregation and unequal treatment based on a person's race. As a young preacher, Dr. King helped found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a group that used peaceful protests to enact change. Dr. King and the SCLC participated in many of the biggest events of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s, including the Montgomery bus boycott, the Selma to Montgomery marches in Alabama, and the March on Washington. These events raised awareness of racial inequality in the United States and ended many segregation practices. It was at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963 where Dr. King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, which continues to inspire those who work for freedom and equality to this day. The March on Washington helped spark the passing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This law banned discrimination and segregation based on race, color, religion, sex, and country of origin. Martin Luther King Jr. was a charismatic leader who inspired people from all around the world by speaking out against the moral errors of segregation. He and other civil rights activists spurred real, positive change in the lives of millions of African Americans. In 1964, Dr. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his leadership and commitment to the American civil rights movement. On April 4, 1968, while in Memphis, Tennessee for a protest, Dr. King was assassinated on the balcony of his hotel by a white supremacist named James Earl Ray. The news of his death spread outrage and sorrow around the globe. Representative John Conyers from Michigan introduced legislation for a holiday dedicated to Dr. King only 4 days after his death. 15 years later, Congress finally passed the bill, and President Ronald Reagan signed it into law in 1983. The first Martin Luther King Jr. Day was celebrated 3 years later on January 20th, 1986. Today, we honor a great man who had a dream that we would all live together peacefully and be judged by the content of our character rather than the color of our skin. A man who asked all Americans to work together to solve the nation's problems. As Dr. King famously asked, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
So next up, birthdays!
Today celebrating birthdays is Jonathan F., Tyler M., Morgan I., Simon P., Andrew R., and Shelby P. Have a fantastic day.
Now over to Kara and Luke for the joke of the day.
How do you tell if a vampire is sick?
How?
See if he is coughing.
Be the best extraordinary person that you can be, Sycamore. Follow our PBIS expectations every day.
Have a great day, Sycamore, and
Go
A's!
Go on.